Hey everyone, this is Nuke again. Had another topic for you guys. Let's see if you guys hear me. All right. Okay, so yeah, it's Nuke guys. Here for another topic. Today's topic is going to be hobbies. So introducing hobbies on a date, on a second date, in general, first interaction, whenever, right? So hobbies are important, especially for us guys. They're good for building friendships because men usually we bond through doing activities together with a common goal, like sports or projects and stuff like that. And then there's also hobbies that are just for the fun of it. There's hobbies that increase our skills too, that are useful, like carpentry and fishing and stuff like that. And then there's hobbies that are just mindless and fun, like video games and other things, right? So yeah, men we usually have the bulk of the hobbies, and women do have hobbies too, but they don't seem as widespread. And when a woman does have a hobby that usually is predominantly masculine, she's either very celebrated or gets a lot of attention. Hence, why we have Twitch, where like you can be a guy that plays video games, but a girl that just picked up a video game like a month ago will be able to gain 10 times the subscribers you will simply because of you know what, right? But yeah, hobbies are really important. They are a very integral part of who you are as a man, right? So you want to not exclude them from other people in your life. You would like to share them, like even your friends that don't share in your hobbies probably enjoy talking about your hobbies because it's interesting, it's fun. It's usually paired with good stories, and it shows another dimension of you, as well as it shows another dimension of you, as well as it like people like to hear you talk about things with passion. Anyone does, right? So, but aside from your friends and family, when it comes to women, how should we talk about our hobbies? Introduce them on a date, whether it be in a first interaction, what environment, like what's going on, right? Um, So first, before we start, like, hobbies are so widespread, and there's so many hundreds of hobbies that men have and choose, right? And usually men choose them just to choose them, right? Because they enjoyed it, right? Like one day as a kid, you're walking by a field and someone kicks a soccer ball to you, and you look at it and you kick it back, and then someone says, "Wow, man, you have a nice kick," or you want to play with us as a kid, and then you start playing soccer, and then soccer's your hobby for the next 10 years, right? Um, Same thing with or they could be passed down. Like your father could have been a carpenter, like to do carpentry, and then one day as a child, you asked, "Hey, Dad, what are you up to?" And then he introduces his hobby. Now it's your hobby, right? Sometimes the hobby is just it's dependent on the culture or your work environment, right? So in the Navy, a lot of people's hobby was guns, right? So like a lot of people tend to own guns in the military, so it kind of like people that didn't own guns were implicitly encouraged to own weapons because of the environment, the work environment, right? So yeah, hobbies are here to stay. They're a part of who we are, especially as men. And I would say, without a doubt, men have the bulk of the hobbies, and we have the most diverse hobbies, right? But with that said, hobbies can be um, divided into different categories. I've divided them into different categories, right? Because you can't present a hobby to a woman that you're interested in, that you can present all different types of hobbies to a woman the same way, right? There are hobbies that are just inherently sexy and fun and interesting. There are hobbies that could be portrayed or perceived as childish, time wasting, right? And it's not to mean that it wastes time for you because it's your hobby. You're not going to change your hobby because somebody didn't find it attractive, right? That's silly. That doesn't make sense. But the way you present it, or when or how, or even if ever you present it, you have to do it right if you want to attract the right attention and to keep the woman's attraction, right? Because if you introduce hobbies too early in the interaction, or if you introduce hobbies in a kind of childish way, or overwhelm them, or you know you can scare off the girl easily, or she'll start making opinions about you. So first off, let's divide these hobbies into different categories, right? And to me, we have like active and sporty hobbies. Like this could be hiking, any sports like pickup basketball, soccer, whatever. Fishing, boating, dancing, bodybuilding, martial arts, all those stuff, right? Obviously, some of these hobbies are going to cross over into other categories, right? But they're just to kind of categorize them for sake of argument and pragmatism, right? So we have those sporty activities, right? Um, then we have like the nerdy, geeky ones, right? Which, like anime, video games, card games, like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Magic. You have chess, another like board games like chess. You have making 3D models, like I don't know, like 3D Gundams or planes or something like that. And then you have like magic tricks, which it's come on, guys. Magic is kind of geeky, right? I've never seen. Usually, it's associated with more geekier guys, right? There's nothing wrong with it, but that's what magic is to me. And then we have the more very hyper, not I don't want to say hyper masculine, but the very masculine hobbies where like you really don't see any femme girls doing this, and if they do, they go viral or it's just a big deal, right? So we have stuff like metalworking, carpentry, car repair and restoration, hunting, right? Obviously, especially if you live in the South, you'll see a lot more women dealing with this stuff, right? But for the most part, most like if you go scroll through Instagram and you happen to search for metalworking or carpentry or stuff like that, it's usually men doing, making swords and axes or building closets and cabinets. And if there are women that do it and they go viral because despite being a woman, they're good at it, and it it's the gynocentric kind of like if I can do anything, you can do it. And I deserve 10 times the amount of attention for having the skill of regular person for doing something, right? And then, car repair, restoration. I had a buddy that he repaired a pickup truck, and he would keep everyone posted on Facebook throughout the months when we were in the Navy, a Navy buddy of mine. And everyone became really emotionally invested in his restoration. And we were like, every time he had a problem, he would post what the problem was on Facebook in a picture, and then people would flood in and give him opinions and all that stuff. Because even if me, I'm not even that good. I don't know much about cars, but it interested me because it's just a masculine hobby. Like I would look at it and I would hey man, looks good. Like when are we going for a ride or something? Because it's just inherently masculine to build, to fix, to construct, right? And then metalworking, I'll get lost in like videos of people making swords and axes and just different things out of metal restoration, like restoring old metal appliances from like World War II or something. Yeah, so and then I would say like collecting guns and shooting guns is also a super masculine one. Obviously, women are also doing that too, but let's be real. Like the 99% of people that are into these hobbies that I said are men, right? So there's here now we move on to the artistic ones, right? Like playing an instrument, like I have back here, or photography, painting, um, stuff like that, drawing, sketching, sculptures, whatever you have, whatever you come up with. Those are the artistic ones, right? Now the artistic ones tend to be more on the kind of like inherently attractive side. There isn't a need to sell it too hard, right? Because art appeals a lot to emotions, right? So it's easy to introduce art to a woman on a date as long as you're very passionate about what you do, because art is inherently emotional, and that can easily lead to it being seen as attractive, mysterious, and all that stuff, right? But more on that later. And then you have culinary um, hobbies, right? So a lot of people like mixology. I like to dabble in mixology. I like to make drinks, cooking, baking, and all that stuff. Chocolatiering. Obviously, that's more of a job nowadays, but it is can be considered a hobby, right? So, uh, I'm sure there's other hobbies that I missed and other things, but to me, those are the five categories of hobbies, and obviously some of them cross over. Like I would say that, um, like you can be a photographer, but you can go do photography at like anime events, or you could be into dancing, right? Which is a physical, takes up, burns calories to dance and you get sweaty and all that stuff. But I could also be seen as artistic if you're really into dancing, ballroom dancing, salsa, bachata, merengue, all that stuff, that could be considered artistic, right? So they do bleed over to each other. But those are the categories, just for sake of pragmatism and all that stuff. So I will say that each one of these categories, um, there's a lot of guys that only have one or two of these, and that's fine. Like I like the gym. I can obviously, most guys like who are physical and active like to be in the gym. So that's already one right there, right? And then I like anime. I like video games. Obviously I don't prioritize them because as you get older, you have other responsibilities. But um, I like I said, I'm not really good at metalworking, carpentry, hunting, stuff like that, but I do like watching it. I can watch Instagram reels and TikToks about metalwork and carpentry and restoration, all that stuff. It's interesting to me, right? So I'm not a hobby, but I am it's not one of my hobbies, but I do like to spectate. Um, Obviously, my main hobby is playing piano, right? It's my favorite hobby thing to do. I don't really consider bodybuilding a hobby, more of as like, self care, a necessity in today's world. And then culinary, I have mixology, right? So what I'm saying is maybe it would behoove you to have a hobby in each one of these categories to make you more complete, right? Not necessary though. That is not what makes you a man is your hobbies, right? But I'm just saying that it would help. Now that we kind of understand how I'm labeling these, let's go and how do we introduce each one of these, right? So let's move to like active sporty hobbies and how we introduce them, right? So when it comes to active and sporty hobbies, a lot of this is gonna make your physique and your body look good, right? Even if it's martial arts, bodybuilding, hiking, maybe not so much, but you will be in shape. If you like to hike, one of the prerequisites is that you cannot be fat because hiking will take a lot out of you, right? Sports too, fishing maybe, but like you know it's one of those things where it depends, boating too. Like boating could be different. Like if you're taking a boat out on a nice calm river or a nice calm lake, it's different from taking going, excuse me, ocean fishing or something like that, which requires a little bit more focus and skill. Um, so I would say that when it comes to active and sporty things, right? I think these are the ones you want to dial back a little bit more, right? Because these are the ones that that are ad nauseum, right? There's a lot of memes about, or like women I've heard throughout the years that a lot of men lead with their physique, which is fine, like a good, strong physique will attract the ladies, right? But um, anytime you have like a physical hobby, make sure that maybe it involves a social aspect to it and put it on your Instagram or introduce it to the girl on a date. Like, hey, like I like bodybuilding, but I also like to do these activities that involve, like a powerlifting meet or something like that. Or you take pictures with other people. If you go pro or have a pro card, like, make sure that these hobbies aren't just you in a mirror taking a picture of your physique or you on a hike just overlooking a mountain, right? Make sure that you introduce a social aspect, right? So for the act, because overall, like m- women when they see an Instagram or they want to know about you, a lot of them women know that men have a lot of crazy hobbies, right? but they want to know that you are socially calibrated and not weird. So when introducing these hobbies, make sure that at least try to make it like there's a social aspect to it, right? Especially for the physical, sporty hobbies, right? Moving on. So nerdy and geeky. So nerdy geeky hobbies like anime, video games, card games, chess, 3D models, magic tricks. Okay. So nerdy and geeky hobbies. This one's a little tougher to introduce, right? Because watching anime and playing video games isn't inherently attractive. It's not something that people hear and I'm automatically think, dark, tall, handsome, mysterious man that doesn't, right? So what I would do for these is really don't bring them up on a first date unless she brings this up first, right? And you'd be surprised how many women are anime fans, are good at video games, like to play Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever they're into, right? A lot more women these days have these hobbies, especially the younger women, right? So don't jump to introduce these hobbies to her, even if she gives you, even the possibility that she's into them. Wait till she asks you, and then open up a little bit. Don't get over enthusiastic about it. If she says, "Oh, have you seen this anime?" Say, "Oh yeah, I've caught it." Even though you're a big fan, yeah, I've caught it. I enjoy it. And then talk a little bit about it. That will create a little bit of rapport. Um, and stuff, right? But don't get all super nerdy and start explaining the whole timeline of the anime or the game mechanics and how you didn't like them. Just keep it light, enjoy the time, and then um, you'll be surprised too. Like throughout my apartment, I have very little like. I have a figurine from a video game my friend got me for my birthday, and of course I'm gonna put that up. And I have like a box set of Studio Ghibli movies in my bookcase, and women will see this, and most of the time, I would say about 5 out of 10 women that I've met and had the pleasure to come up to my apartment, have seen these and were like thrilled, like, "Oh my god, you're into this or you're into that." So don't be ashamed of this hobby, right? But just don't be overly enthusiastic until you see that she's also into it. And even then, tone it down, right? I'm a big fan of Studio Ghibli movies, and a lot of girls are, you know. But even if she's like, "Oh, I love Howl's Moving Castle," or "I love this," or "I love that," be like, "Oh yeah, I like it too. It's one of my favorite." But don't go all spurgy. Keep it smooth. Keep it light. Um, and if she's not into any of those things, just don't even talk about them. You know, until you get that deep conversion where she's into you and you guys got something going, don't really open up too much about the more geeky hobbies. And don't throw it in her face, right? Just be yourself. You don't have to introduce every part of your life to a girl on the first week or first 2 weeks of getting to know her, right? Um, Now we have the masculine ones. How do I introduce these? Now, for masculine hobbies like car restoration, metalworking, carpentry, there really isn't much to talk about them to women because the process and the process of like smelting metal and cutting wood and like putting a car together or cleaning up a car, um that will make most women's eyes glaze over, and they're not, just for these. um I would say if you had one of these hobbies like metalworking, carpentry, whatever, right, make a separate Instagram where that's all you do if you're serious about them, right? Where you show your work, where you show like, oh, I built this cabinet, or I built this sword, or I built this object, right? Or I restored this car. And take really good pictures of you doing it, right? Especially you with your hand in the car engine, dirty, smiling, late night with the boys, drinking beers and surrounding your car. Make an Instagram about it or something separate from your personal. And then if she's interested in those type of things, it's not the fact that you do whatever you do is attractive, is that you're passionate about something, right? So you need to show that, and the best way to show that you're passionate about something is creating maybe another Instagram, or if it's your main Instagram, that works too. But just know you'll need to pepper in normal pictures of you doing normal things, but outside of your hobby, right? Um, make a separate Instagram, and on that Instagram, really take good pictures of what you're doing. Reach out to other people that are doing the same thing, so on and so forth, right? Because it isn't the fact that you do carpentry; it's how passionate and how you that is attractive to women when a man is passionate about something. Um, that's not them, right? All right. So, artistic. Now, artistic hobbies is kind of like a hack. Um, you know, me as a guy who has played piano since 16, and yes, I do use it to get girls to like me. I mean, by the time they're in my apartment already, it's play one or two songs, and they're very but it's not that hard to introduce these hobbies as something hot and sexually attractive to women, right? Or at least arousing. But here's the issue: it's very tempting to throw this out to a girl the first opportunity you get, right? For like just any other hobby, let her figure it out about you, right? I named my main Instagram my first name and then piano. My first name piano, right? Um, and that way, when a girl asks my Instagram, she's like, "Oh, this so and so's piano. Does that mean he's a musician? Does that mean he plays music?" And look, I already got the gears turning. I got the hamster running. And then she adds my Instagram, and then she sees that, yeah, I have pictures of me doing other things and hanging out with friends, my dog, or whatever stuff like that. But then peppered in there are like pictures of or videos of me playing popular music and stuff like that. And what that does is that gives her the gift of her trying to figure you out. And a lot of women enjoy trying to figure you out. That's fun for them. That's like part of the process of getting to know a new guy and a new exciting guy in your life. Don't take that away from them, right? So if you're on a date and you paint or you play an instrument, don't be like that guy that at every party he brings his guitar and forces his hobby on everyone, right? Keep I know it's hard because as people who play instruments, we want to show the world our talent because it's hard earned, and it's we like to share our talent, right? But on a first date, unless the topic of conversation is steering towards hobbies, let her come to the conclusion that you're a musician, that you're a painter, that you sketch, right? It makes it hotter and sexier for her to for you to have withdrawn this information and continue to lead with charisma and your charm and all that stuff, right? Trust me on that one. And then culinary, mixology, cooking, baking. This is another one where if you're really into cooking or you're really into baking, are really into mixology, this is something that you could just pepper in your main if you have a main profile, or you can make a separate one if you're really about that life. And then you can um, post about, let's say, you mix, like for me, I like mixology, but not enough to where I would make an extra Instagram, right? Enough to where I would post on my stories, hey, I'm making this drink, and it's a really classy drink, and then women see, okay, this guy he plays piano, he has a puppy. He makes nice drinks, and he has friends. I have to meet him, or I have to get to know this guy. This guy looks fun and exciting. And also on top of it, it brings me to my next topic, is plausible deniability and how your hobbies come into plausible deniability. So plausible deniability is an excuse um, that you use to get a woman back to your place, right? And not and it could be ridiculous. I've heard that like a guy would say, "I have a midget back in my apartment. You want to see him?" And it worked. And that's, a lot of guys don't understand that. Girls need an excuse to go back to your apartment that's not like her, so she doesn't feel like a slut. Because, women do not want to feel like a slut at all, even if she wants to be in that moment, which if she's already agreeing to go back to your place, she wants to feel like this just happened. Right. So you need that plausible deniability. And what better way of plausible deniability than having an interesting hobby? Right. So think about your hobbies that you have or that you're interested in, right? Which one of those hobbies can I use for plausible deniability? Right. Obviously, you don't need a hobby. It could be an object like, oh, you want to see my whatever collection, or do you want to see my dog, or do you want to see my pictures or my paintings that I bought or whatever. But also having a certain hobbies can serve as excellent plausible deniability. Like what for me, I make drinks and I play piano. Easy plausible deniability. Hey, you want to grab another drink at my place? Or hey, I could play you that song you like. You know, so excellent plausible deniability. A lot of women love the idea of a handsome, I mean, we're all handsome bros, but like a tall, dark, handsome guy who's charmed her all night. Going back to his place, which is nearby. Logistics. Remember what I said in my other video. Um, to play one or two songs for me. She's gonna brag to her friends the next day, like, "Wow, this guy we met, he was so fun and interesting, and then he played all these songs for me, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a great experience altogether." So um, make sure you look at your hobbies and like which one of these would be the best plausible deniability, because not only that, when you introduce them to the the girl, you'll be passionate about them, and that will increase the attraction she already has to you. And at that point, she might, intimacy is one kiss away, right? So yeah, um, overall, when introducing hobbies, don't throw it in her face. Let her lead the conversation in the direction of that, and let her ask you. And she asks you, so what do you do outside of work? And just say, hey, I play piano. Oh, really? How long? Oh, about so and so years. Oh, wow, so you must be really good. Yeah, it's my passion. It's what I do. Like, keeps me grounded. And then at this point, you can stop with like being so laser focused on making sure the conversation goes well. You can start talking about your hobby in a very passionate way, and watch how her eyes are going to like light up, because women love men that are into things very passionately. So she's going to be like this, listening to you talk about how minor chords and major chords are different, and what your journey was on an instrument. She won't want the date to end, because she's found a man that's has passion outside of like other boring regular hobbies, right? And because even the women that are into video games and anime, you can be just as into them and into those things as women. But there's nothing like a hobby like something like um, cooking, baking, photography, and stuff that you're really into. You're explaining that will turn a woman on. That requires you to be passionate about it, right? And just keep that in mind. As soon as she gets you talking about what you're passionate about, let it go. Just talk, get it out of your system, and then once in a while I'll be talking, and then I'll be like, hey, I'm sorry, I just got a little passionate. And she'll be like, no, no, please keep going. I love this. So as you can see, hobbies are important, just like everything else in a conversation, in a relationship, in a game plan to get a girl back to your place, to get her to be your girlfriend, your plate, or whatever. Ensure that everything has a place, and to fire these things off when it's appropriate. Because if you do it when it's not appropriate, you're messing it up, right? You're not going to be able to get the girl back to your place. You're not going to be able to get the girl stay interested in you, right? Add this to your repertoire of things that will keep the girl eating out of the palm of your hand. And trust me, what will stand you apart from other guys a lot of the times is the hobbies, right? I'm not a specialist on Instagram. I gave you some Instagram tips, but I'm not a specialist on Instagram. But it would make sense for you to guys to take these hobbies and put them on your Instagram, pepper them throughout your Instagram, put them on your stories. um, it increases your gives you another dimension as a human being, right? And it makes you more attractive. Maybe not only to girls, to people in general. People like people that are into things beyond, the run of the mill new Netflix show, right? Girls really don't have that many hobbies that I've known, or at least that they tell you at first. Whatever Netflix show, brunch, um painting, some of them is just playing guys, getting guys to pay them stuff, and they have a group chat and they make fun of guys. Man, we've all been there, right? I guess maybe I have screenshots say from my conversations, and girls make fun of me in the conversation. That's fine, who cares, right? But at the end of the day, um hobbies is a powerful tool. Ensure that you're using it correctly, that you introduce it when it's appropriate. Let her get to the point where she asks you about it. And once she's interested in your hobby, you feel like, and she asks you about it, let the passionate side of you flow out and talk about your hobby in a passionate way. And understand that different hobbies not all hobbies are equally as attractive, right? For example, guns. Maybe guns should be something that you should not talk about with a girl because there's a lot of emotional, and political things to talk about when you're talking about weapons, right? So maybe keep off those. You got to use you got to be a little calibrate, and realize who you're talking to. It's not your friend, it's not your dad, it's not your brother, it's not your sister. It's a woman, and assume that she's liberal, and assume that she's very emotional about things that everyone else is emotional about, right? So that basically wraps up my thoughts on hobbies and stuff. If you guys have any questions or anything you agree or disagree with, comment below. And thank you for watching my video. You can find me on here on this channel. You can find me on twitter.com, Calvillo Nuclear, just like right there. I think it says it below, right there. Yeah, it says it below right there. And then Twitch TV, Nuclear Calvillo, which is backwards. And then on Twitch, I play video games sometimes. I don't have that much time right now. But if you guys want to follow me there, and if you guys have an account on Twitch and you guys are active, let me know and I'll follow you back. Other than that, that's all I have for today. Thank you for watching. And until next time, guys, goodbye.